Time for the Pucking Around podcast. Puck around and find out. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pucking Around. All right, we got an interesting episode. At least I think we do. We're going to take a look at goalie tandems. And this is something we're going to do 4 weeks in a row. We're going to start with the Atlantic Division. We're going to rank the goalie tandems. We're going to take a look at, the worst top 5 draft pick since 2014. We have some breaking news. And to tell you all about that, I'm going to throw it over to my co-host over there, Cam.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Sorry, I thought that was my cue. What's going on, everybody? Just a quick reminder of who else joins us tonight. We got our main boy from the Flyer podcast, and Alex, and my co-host from Hibernation, Mr. Pump Daddy Vogel over there.
Going on, fellas?
He just got a new soundboard working, so maybe we might hear some cool stuff from that. But the breaking news in the NHL.
I'm not going to tell them who I am.
Everyone knows who you are, Rick.
Okay.
We know who you are, Rick. You're our producer, our big guy.
Resident pain in the ass.
Absolutely.
You said it, not me.
Hey, listen, he's very honest. All right, Alex, leave the guy alone. Breaking news in the NHL. Sydney Crosby will, in fact, be staying in Pittsburgh for 2 more years. He just signed a contract today. 2 years, 8.7. I'm sorry, 2 years, about $8.5 million. I can't speak English today. My God, that was horrible.
$8.7 million AAV to match what his current contract, which is in the last year, is. So he didn't even get a raise. He didn't even get a raise.
You know why he said 8.7 million though? What, right?
87 is his number, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's kind of crazy if you think about it. What about a guy that just has taken pay cut after pay cut to be on that team?
I just want to add something. I call him, in terms of money perspective, he's the Tom Brady of the NHL. Always taking pay cuts to make his team better. And will Dubas make his team better? That's a completely different conversation.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But I will say this. I've learned to respect Sidney Crosby more and more as I've gotten older. I still can't stand his teammate Malkin, but Crosby has grown on me a little bit.
I 100% agree with you, Alex. Don't like Malkin, but definitely
not at all.
Crosby, got to respect the guy.
I think there's a reason why he has 3 cups, right? It's exactly why he did that. You know, that team, if he would have said, I want $12 million, that team's going nowhere. You know what I mean? I think he recognized that. I think he recognized his age. I think he also realized he's made a lot of money in his career. And and if he wanted a career in broadcasting or anything else after that, the NHL is going to help him out with it. So it's not like it's over. You know what I mean? There are always going to be places for him.
Do you guys think that the Stamkos situation down in Tampa had any effect on, him taking any less money? He probably wanted to stay in Pittsburgh and see what happened down there. I mean,
me personally, I say no. I think he's always been invested in staying in Pittsburgh. He does a lot for that community off the ice, especially as well. Yeah. The only team I would have said there was a slim shot of him going to outside of Pittsburgh is Colorado, and because him and Nathan McKinnon. No, not Montreal.
Montreal.
He's already said it.
I'll say
he already said it though, but Montreal.
No, but me personally, just because him and Nathan McKinnon are very close, and I don't think he would have wanted to stay in conference. But even then, I called that very slim. I think his heart was set in Pittsburgh to retire there.
Yeah,
he's
Sidney
one of those.
Crosby is a one.
Well, I would have thought the same thing about Stamkos too. I mean, obviously there was discrepancy with the team, but that's I just throwing it out there like maybe I don't know. And again, that 8.7 isn't a coincidence. And he probably could be getting more, but
we absolutely could have.
Yeah,
he could have still got about 10 easy.
10 easy. Yeah,
I know he could have gotten 10 easy to a 10, but I think I don't know if it played into that. The situation in Tampa, I think, was very different. They were very different. They weren't even talking to Stamkos. They made it abundantly clear that they didn't want. I shouldn't say that they didn't want, but they were not going to sign him. I think that they acknowledged that team was going to pivot into a different direction. And I think that did upset Stamkos. And by the time maybe they were ready to consider that, he had already made up his mind. He said, I'm good.
Look at the offer they gave him, though. They were offering him $3 million.
Yeah, not worth it. Not at his time.
The offer was an insult. So
for what he's provided, he won the the cup definitely in the 2020s.
2004, his first
I think
season.
he was on that. Yeah, he was on that
Yeah,
team, right?
Marty
So the man
St.
had
Louis,
3 or 4
our
cups.
coach, our head coach, Marty St. Louis, the one year they played together in Tampa was that year, I believe, 2004. And then they win it again? Like they won it again after 2004, did they not?
No, it wasn't.
That was their only
recent.
win. Okay,
Correct.
It was 2004.
Yeah, so I mean, just to give the guy that like $3 million and just say because you're 34 and you're aging, yeah, who cares? You still have all those accolades on you. So while I think that actually I don't think that influenced it. I think the league has a broad respect for Sidney Crosby. I mean, he does have a reputation for crying, like the refs, blah 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 blah, and all of that. But I think ultimately he is a very talented player, one of the most talented in the generation, as Alex pointed to. What he not only does on the ice but off the ice in Pittsburgh, and I think since Mario Lemieux, Pittsburgh has been lacking kind of like that figure for that city.
Can I say something about his whining? I think he got that reputation back a bit when the rules were different and how they called it, and guys could drape themselves all over you and do all kinds of stupid shit to you, right? And that's when because I don't find he's still that kind of whiner as they called him back then.
He was in the early 2010s when the Flyers-Penguins rivalry was at its peak. All you saw is him just looking for any possible call. When him and Giroux,
but he was getting infracted on all the time, though.
He broke both of Giroux's wrists in the playoffs, so
yeah, but
I didn't feel bad for him.
It's just Giroux. Come on.
Oh no, but regardless, he had that reputation, right? And but it has since quelled. So I think it's fine. Yeah,
I think so.
I knew we debated this a long while back whether or not we thought Crosby was going to stay a Penguin or whether or not he was open and going. We all knew he was open to leaving and doing whatever it took to kind of help Pittsburgh, and I think that spoke more to his character than anything else.
Right.
I think there was some personal stuff with it too, in the sense that he wanted to pursue another cup, but I think ultimately
his heart's in Pittsburgh.
His heart is 100% in Pittsburgh. That's the team that drafted him.
And you got to say Sidney Crosby, because we don't see guys stay their whole career with one team very much anymore. But that Sidney Crosby screams that to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that to a degree, right? For the most part, I think there is always a guy that will live or die by their team. It's typically a higher round pick, right? Maybe top 5. Most of the time, I would say, I see Connor McDavid living and dying by Edmonton if they can afford him at this point. I see Ovechkin. There's Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini. These are guys that I see that will stay with those teams. Just as examples, I can go on. All right, guys, are we ready to talk about the Atlantic goalie rankings and where we have them?
Yes, we are.
All right, sweet. I'm going to start just by describing the list in terms of team standings and how the teams finished last year, and then we'll go in that order. So the way the teams finished, starting from first place down to last place, we have Florida, followed by Boston, by Toronto, by Tampa, by Detroit, by Buffalo, by Ottawa, and then by Montreal. Mm-hmm. Starting with Florida, Vogel, where do you have them ranked?
I have them top of the division. That Bobrovsky, Spencer Knight tandem. We talked about it last week that Spencer Knight could be a number 1 anywhere. Bobrovsky, when he's playing good, when he's on his game, he's on his fucking game. Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty much probably across the board a no-brainer that Florida has the best tandem in the Atlantic.
I'm gonna go off right on the bat and say, is anyone else going to refute that?
I have the 8th. No, I'm just kidding.
I think
you'd be the most hated person.
No, I would deserve that. No, I think I have them first as well. Sergei Bobrovsky now has a cup under his regime. Future Hall of Fame goalie, 2-time Vezina winner. This guy has done it all in the NHL. He's absolutely incredible. Probably the biggest mistake the Flyers have made in my lifetime was trading him way too early. But absolute stud. And then Spencer Knight will be the future of that team. He already looks like he'd probably be a number 1 for a good handful of teams in the league already. That without a doubt, in my opinion, is number 1 as well.
I'm gonna just echo more on what Vogel was saying too about when he's on. I think I am on firm belief he won the Panthers game 7. It was him. If you just watch the final 5 minutes of that game, he was getting peppered. He looked exhausted. It was a miracle that puck did not enter the net.
5 minutes, the entire third period, it felt like.
For sure. But focusing on that small bit of the third, I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure even Florida Panthers fans, their hearts were probably pounding and just being like, "Oh my God, he's saved."
Oh, without a doubt.
You know what that reminded me
of?
of?
It was crazy.
You know what that reminded me of? With that Pittsburgh-Detroit Cup final in 2009 when they were just absolutely bombarding Marc-Andre Fleury, the Penguins, in that final couple of minutes. That kind of replicated that in that 2009 Cup that the Pens won.
For sure.
I got a better one. Do you guys know the famous Patrick Roy where he winks at the guy?
No, I don't.
Okay, that I believe, if I'm correct, that was against the Rangers. And if this is not the same year, there was one year we won when we won the Cup, I believe in '86, we played the Rangers. I think not for the Cup, but the series before. There was a 5-minute stretch at near the end of the game where if he didn't take 15 shots, and he was all over the place, acrobatic goaltending like crazy. Yeah, our hearts were in our chest, but I mean, that's probably the most amazing goaltending I've ever seen. I don't know why I got on that. I guess I do, but yeah, there you go.
Cool. All right, so
I'm guessing Rick has Florida at 1. That means.
Yeah.
Well, I said that we all have.
Yeah, I think that was just an easy choice, and I still think Spencer Knight has a little bit of something to prove, but I think from what he's shown, he's going to be a good goaltender.
Yeah,
he's played 57 games for them and got 32 wins. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also would like to point out these are on teams where their defense has been absolutely stellar. So I want to see how this goalie also performs with a reasonable defense, not something that's completely out of world.
Yeah, it's not as stacked as it's been.
Yeah, correct. Let's start with Rick and we'll talk with Boston. So Boston placed second in the division last season. So where do you have them ranked in terms of goalie tandem this year?
Before I say where, I'm gonna say that I had them ranked and then I redid it and I found it really difficult because it's close. So being a little biased, being a Habs fan, I have him at 5th. And that's mostly because while Korpisalo may find his game and be a decent backup, I don't think I want to bank on that. So, and I'm of the mind Swayman will be there for the start of the season. So I don't think that's an issue. But I think it would just basically Swayman carrying that team. He's great and all that, but I don't know that rises him above the top 4.
Okay, I think it's a little low, but Alex?
I am the 4th. Jeremy Swayman.
Fuck the Bruins.
I have him 4th. I think Jeremy Swayman is a top 10 goalie in this league already established.
Yeah.
Obviously, he still needs to prove it for a full length of the season. And, he was absolutely stellar in the playoffs. By far the best Bruin, bar none. But the thing with him is he obviously has to prove it the longevity of the season. But in the bits and pieces that we saw him get extended play, he was great. He's ready to take that torch as the number 1 goalie for the Bruins. And I think he's ready to solidify himself, not just as top 10, maybe a top 5 goalie in the league. He's absolutely excellent. The Bruins have been a goalie factory for years, which is the exact opposite of my team must be nice. But the only thing is...
No pettiness.
Yeah, no kidding, right? The only thing is Jonas Korpisalo. Big question mark there. I hated that contract the day it was signed in Ottawa, and even before that. In Columbus, he was okay, but when Ottawa signed him to that deal, I said, this is going to be something that they regret. This is a guy that weighing way too much on, way too much term, and he got thrown into a fire and was not good. Sub 900 save percentage, I think, both years he was there? I think he was there, 2 years before he got moved?
I think so.
And I don't see... Now, the Bruins goaltending coach is fantastic. He makes shit turn into gold. So maybe that's the exact recipe he needs. But I need Corpy to show it at the end of the day.
Yeah, till he does, you can't count on it.
Yeah, I need him to show it again.
I think the $4 million he got. Sorry, then we'll move to Vogel, but I think the $4 million he got was too much. But I think the $3 million he has right now is reasonable, and that's reasonable backup goaltender money. Yeah, that's reasonable backup money. The way I see it,
That's fair.
Yeah,
I have no issue with that.
Yeah, I'll go further.
Though. Will he perform?
That is the question. I'll let Vogel go, then I'll go.
Just to kind of pivot off Rick and Alex. I kind of agree with Rick in the sense where there's going to be a bias. I have the Bruins at second on the list. I think that Swayman, like Alex said, he could be a top 5. I think he already is a top 5, if not top 6, top 7 in the league. And I think that Korpisalo was in a bad situation in Ottawa. I think that now that he's in Boston, even if he's not carrying a full workload, I think that
carrying your mic.
Yeah, like you're carrying your mic. Yeah.
It just fell. I think that it's going to be he's going to be in a better spot here, and I think that and again, I have Boston at second with an asterisk because he's not signed yet, so technically he's not the Bruins goalie right now. So, but I do have him at second. I'm confident they're going to sign him before the start of the season. Camp starts in 2 days, so I don't think they'll have the deal done by the start of camp. But he's been skating with the team, so I don't think that he'll really lose a step. But like you guys said, he hasn't played a full season, so we'll see. We'll see what he does with the full workload like that and being the number one guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo more on Vogel too. I also have the Bruins second in goalie tandem. This is based on the talent, the overall roster, and the historical precedent that has been set by Boston. Alex, you brought up a good point. We're goalie factories, right? And we're also defensive factories. That's how Boston has historically built their teams. And I think it's not the question mark really around Swayman, because he's going to probably get 55 games, 60 games, somewhere between there. He's going to have to.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Rick. And I think the biggest question mark is can Korpisalo perform reasonably well? And I think that defense that the Bruins have, they're massive. They're very well defensively.
That's a big team in general.
It is a huge team. They just got, Elias Lindholm, who is a very good two-way forward. Their depth got better. The team overall got better than last year. So I think that's why I think they'll be second in the tandem, because the defense is definitely going to help Korpisalo out a little bit.
Playing behind a better team is going to be be a huge in how he.
I did want to add one thing you mentioned about the size of the Bruins, Cam. I saw something that showed the heaviest to lightest teams in the NHL. The Boston Bruins are actually considered the heaviest team in the NHL right now
by 1 pound.
Yeah, I think Montreal was 8 and Philly was 31st.
Montreal was tied, though. There were 3 or 4 teams at 201 pounds. It's not think it's a huge difference, but Boston.
I think the Flyers are 194.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad, but that's small. But no, if you look at historical Stanley Cup winners, a lot of, and I'm not saying the Bruins are going to win the cup or anything like that, but Florida was a huge team. St. Louis, huge team.
But Montreal's gone to big.
But you can go the other way too. Last place is Colorado, and they just won the cup 2 years ago. So
they're the smallest team.
Yeah, that's one thing too. Is even with the size, you can't sacrifice speed.
Yeah.
Can I say something? Last thing about Korpisalo. If Korpisalo gets 25 to 30 games, then he's playing well, and then I'm wrong, because then that'll be better. But if he only gets 20, 22 games, you're screwed.
That's an issue
that way. But I think if he gets 27, 28 games like that, that means he's playing well, and that's going to bode well for you guys.
I think you'll see him between 20 and 25. You know what I mean? They'll be.
That's what I'm saying, though.
That'd be nerve-wracking. I don't know if I want to play Swayman 60 games personally, because that's
right.
So they get a
but that's
he might have to work playing
well
too.
If Korpisalo's playing well, if Korpi's playing well, he gets the extra 5 games, gives Swayman a break for the playoff. That's a good thing. And I'm saying, then I'm wrong, and you guys are probably right, where Boston will finish higher in this ranking.
This is just a general comment too. What I'm going to say is like the typical goaltender, like the load for a full-time goaltender is about 60 games, 58 to 60 games. So it's not exactly a shock that you would probably see that.
I know.
So
I actually looked that up with the.
I think they're
average
leaning towards. I think more teams are leaning towards more of a split than those big differences
for teams with strong for teams with extremely strong goaltending.
Well, that makes my point though. So if
or
gets those extra games, then that you guys have strong goaltending.
Or extremely strong defense that can help facilitate the goaltending. Because sometimes it's not the goaltending. Sometimes it's a stronger defense where the goalie can just see everything.
But we're not really here ranking the defenses.
No, you're not.
The goaltending.
You're not. Yeah, you're right. You're not. But I think there'll be games where you can steal. And this goes for the same for everything. All right.
One last thing to add before we move on, how you mentioned about average is about 55 to 60 per sportsgrid.com. They typically amount the averages anywhere between 50 to 60 games in a regular 82-game season. So I think a lot of it, as mentioned, has to do with how that backup is performing.
Yep, that's right.
The less they play, the better the situation.
Yeah.
But if you look at that deviation, that 10 game it's not a lot. It's not a big difference.
I think it is in the longevity of the season. I
think so.
Playoff
time.
I think
that's a completely different argument.
I think it's schedule based too on that too. That's why that average is a little bit broader than you would probably see it. So you got to think if you have more back-to-back games like in length.
That's a good point.
You have to look at that.
That's a good point because there's a lot more back-to-back games than there ever have been.
I think it just varies on how many back-to-backs you have too. So probably that range. If you're in that
travel, you have to look at travel.
Yeah. True.
It's a lot. There's a lot more than just that.
Schedule.
If you're in that 60 games, you're probably with less back-to-backs, but also at the same time, your backup's not playing well. So it's again, I think it's a mixture of everything, personally.
Yeah.
But anyway,
all right. Next team,
Toronto, who finished third in the division last season. Let's start with Alex.
Toronto, I believe I had them fifth, and only because I want to see Joseph Woll show it in the longevity of a season. Again, kind of similar to Swayman in a way that, again, he played excellent in the playoffs, but he was a little dinged up throughout the regular season too. So durability is a question mark there too. They always say availability is the best ability. So, Joseph Woll's a young goalie. He just got a nice little contract. I want to see him play well consistently. And then their other backup, Anthony Stolarz, was actually pretty good last year. He played in Florida. He's got some history at Anaheim, here in Philly as well. He's been a very serviceable backup everywhere he's gone, but this is more concentrated on Woll. That I need to see Woll do it consistently before I can give the Leafs a higher rank. If he can show that consistently, I'll probably have the Leafs as high as 3 next year, maybe even higher.
Vocal.
I also have him at 5th. Very similar to Alex. I first of all, I hate the Maple Leafs, so I don't want to have to put them that high. But I don't think that. I mean, Woll, he's looked good, but I don't think that he's shown enough to be, to elevate that, especially again as a tandem, to elevate them higher than 5th in the division.
Rick.
Yeah. Okay. So I have them. Okay. You're going to see where I have them. And the reason I have them there is because the other day I fell down and banged my head. I have them at 3rd. I have them at 3rd, but here's how I say it. Stolarz has not been this spectacular goalie his whole career, but he's a little older and he's gotten better. He's also huge. And I think it's a really good pickup for them. As far as Woll, I think Alex is probably right. He hasn't played that. I just like the guy for it's weird me saying this about a Maple Leaf, but I think that's the guy for them. I think that's the right goalie. He's got to prove it, but I don't know. It's a gut thing. I just think they're going to end up that goalie tandem's a good one, and I think mostly based on the fact that Stolarz is probably a better backup than a lot of people are giving him.
I'd just like to point out, so you have Toronto at 3, but Boston at 5.
Yeah, I said I banged my head the other day.
I was going to say, I'm
okay. So
it would have had to be pretty hard for that.
Yeah, like were you hemorrhaging? Ironically, I'm actually in between both of you. I have them at 4. and again, I'm basing it off of talent, like historical precedent and things like that, and a couple other factors on the team, right? Because that also impacts how the goalie tandem plays, locker room chemistry, a whole bunch of things. It's a laundry list I don't want to really get into. I agree with Alex on Wool. I think he needs to play longer. I think he needs to prove it. I agree with Stolarz. I think Stolarz is an underrated goaltender. And I think there's to play for there. I think one of the biggest factors for them is going to be how their defense plays in front of them, and how they're going to be able to read that, right? I think Berube is going to be able to coach them up into a great tandem. So I don't know. I have them at 4. I don't want to put them any lower. I don't want to put them any higher. Than where they're going to be. So it's kind of that's where I have them. And like Vogel, I'm not a huge fan of the Maple Leafs, but I'm not going to deny that they're a talented team. I think that the capacity for them to potentially be a top 4 tandem in the Atlantic is there. I don't know, guys. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they're the Maple Laughs. The year after they finally got out of the first round, they got knocked out again. I don't know what to do with that anymore.
By their daddies.
It's because it's a poorly what's the word I'm looking for? They don't know how to put a team together.
I don't know. I don't know if I would want to go.
The pay
there.
structure is totally screwed.
Oh, the pay structure is screwed, but
it's not going to allow you to put a team together. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't just have good top 6, but garbage everywhere else.
Yeah.
We all know the importance of the rest of the team.
Yeah, I think adding Stolarz was an improvement over Martin Jones. And the other guys that they have, like I can't even remember the other goaltenders. Like that isn't that bad.
Samsonov.
Yeah, Samsonov. Like I think they're better. Matt Murray. I think their goalie tandem is better. I think they're 4.
Fair.
Let's go to Tampa Bay. The team that is likely going to be falling from grace. Let's start back up with Vogel. Where do you put Tampa Bay?
I have Tampa at 4.
Okay.
4, and it might be because I think that I'm putting too much weight into Vasilevsky. I think that he's awesome. I know that he's the past couple of years he hasn't been like top tier Vasilevsky, but I think that he kind of puts them up in the top of the division.
Okay. Not bad. Yeah, let's go to Rick.
I've got them at 6. And maybe I'm a little different than Vogel on Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky seems to be on the downward slide of his career to me. And I'm
not disagreeing with that. I'm just just in the past, I think he's and
I don't disagree with that.
Thinking about the past.
I don't disagree with that either. But I mean, we're talking about the future, so I'm going to go.
No, I know.
No, so I just think that Vasilevsky maybe not as good. He's played a lot of hockey, and he seems to be struggling the last 2 years. So now, because I'm saying this, he's probably going to have like an awesome season, and he's capable. Get it? But that backup of his, Jonas Johansson, like really, what are you going to get from him? I don't know. I know he was adequate when Vazzy was hurt at the beginning of the year last year, but I don't know. I think it's a very tired team. I think they took some big losses in personnel. Sergachev's going to hurt them being gone.
That's going to be my question. How much of it is less of the tandem, but more or less on that team? I really don't think Jonas Johansson's good. Like without, and I think he performed adequately because of the defense they still had and the team they had.
Right, and now they don't have that good a defense like last year. So yeah, no, I think 6 there for Tampa for me.
Alex, what do you think?
Oh my God, my thing wasn't unmuting. I'm sorry. I'm still battling a cough, and I was trying to unmute it. I wasn't muting. Dude. But I actually have Tampa at 3rd. And a lot of this has to do with me banking on a on a Vasilevsky rebound. I think a lot of his struggles last year had to do with that back injury. Remember, he had some back surgery prior to the year. He missed, as mentioned, like the first 6-7 weeks of the year before coming back in December. Took him a little bit of time to find his groove, and when he found his groove, he looked like Vasi of old again. Is he a little bit on the downward turn of his career? Yeah, to an extent, I can agree with that. But I still think he's got a lot. He's still got a considerable amount left in the tank. I still think you have another good year or two out of this guy. If you ask me the same question again next year, my answer might be completely different. But I do look at Vasi and see him as a guy who is still a top 5 goaltender in this league. Jonas was solid last year. While he was gone, he was at least respectable. So I think Vasi still has a lot to prove. I think his side-to-side movement is going to be a lot better now that his back and hip issues are kind of a little bit behind him. So I'm going to put Tampa at 3 for that reason.
Do you think he can play 60 games, though? Because I feel
I don't know if he'll play 60, but I think he'll still get you low 50s. I think he'll get him 52, 53 games.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play 60. I don't. I mean, that back injury, I mean, he came back, from what I understand, he came back pretty strong from it. It was a little rust, but, I mean, he started to pick it up. And, I don't think it's just having him on a rebound. I think it's can Jonas Johnson also perform? Because I don't think Jonas Johnson is a better goaltender than Korpisalo. At least personally. Johansson, yeah, sorry.
Jonas Johansson.
Yeah,
he was adequate. I have to say, he surprised me at the beginning of the year last year. I'll say that.
He was enough, but he also had a little bit stronger defense, I think, in front of him, and I think that helped him out a lot. And I think that just the team historically has been good. Like, you know what I mean? I think that is helping that goaltending a little bit. I think Tampa's going to fall off a bit this year, so it's going to make me wonder, and I think that'll impact their goaltending. I just don't think he's the guy. I'm not going to really add too much on Tampa than you guys already did. I'm just going to say that I actually have them at 5, and it's solely because of Johansson, and that's it. Vasilevsky also might have a question mark. Like I said, the defense, I don't know, because all that impacts the goaltending. So
it does.
We'll kind of see.
Back on what I said.
Yeah, like
I do want to add one thing before we move on. I do have one question for you, Cam. So you mentioned the fact that you think it's more on Jonas more than Johansson more than Vasilevsky, obviously.
Yeah.
So Vasi is obviously a proven goaltender, multi-time Vezina winner, multi-time Cup winner. But you have the Bruins ranked at 2 with a question mark behind the net. Although you did say he's better than Johansson, but is it 3 spots better than Johansson because they're kind of in a similar position?
No, like I said, I think a lot of it is
never biased.
I'm never biased.
Never.
I wanted to take Johnny Beecher 15th overall.
That's a science brain.
Not biased.
Like, you know what I mean? No, I think I'm also going off of historical precedent too with what Boston has done. If you also look at Boston's defense now, and if you also look at the coaching structure, so I think Boston has gotten better, and I think all that impacts the goaltending. That's why I say that they are 3 spots higher because of all of those factors, because all of that impacts the goaltending tandem and their abilities to make saves, right? Like, I think all that, like, you can have a phenomenal goaltender in general, right, on a terrible team. That's not going to stop it. But your backup is likely not going to probably play as strongly as your starting goaltender. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think all of that does pile into it.
Yeah,
might not always be true, but sometimes I would say majority of the time there's a backup for a reason.
No,
right?
okay. No, you're right. You're right.
Fair enough.
So that's how I did my analysis. It's not just looking at those 2 goaltenders and being like, okay, well, Vasilevsky is obviously he's a Stanley Cup champion. Absolutely. He has Vezina trophies. It's not to take any of those away from him, but it's not just about him, right? It's about both of them.
Yeah. So tandem. That's right.
Fair enough.
Before we move on too, while Cam was going into that, I had to sneeze and then I didn't have to sneeze. So for like a 15-second period, I look like my brain is broke, but I just had to sneeze. So if anyone watches it back, that's
I can relate to this. I've done nothing but cough for the last 2+ weeks, and if you haven't noticed, my mic keeps muting, and it even cost me a 5-minute weird segment where I didn't say a word when I got.
Yeah, I tried to mute it, and then I was going to sneeze, and I don't know what it's going to look like when you play it back. But
something like this.
Oh my God!
Oh,
For those of you listening,
was
come on, don't
worse
do
than
that.
that.
We are.
Worse
oh my
than that.
God! I feel sorry for the listeners on Spotify that actually can't see your brain twitching.
Oh, yeah.
Or Alex
If
is
you're
like
listening
constant.
to
I
this
don't even
and
know
not
what he's
watching
doing.
it, then
You're missing out.
you might
Yeah.
have missed out. I don't
You
know
missed
what it
Alex
was.
picking
But
his nose.
if you are
before we
watching
started
this,
Pick
I'm
my
aware
nose.
of what I look like.
It's lucky we deleted the.
Trust me, the voice. He's
That is a
exactly what
lot.
you're thinking. How he looks.
Oh, it's the worst when you have to sneeze and then like you're stuck in
just-
like a weird limbo.
Just go
They
look
say
up Full
put your
Yarby's
tongue on the
hockey
top
TV.
of the roof of your mouth, and it makes you not sneeze.
Thank you,
I
Dr. Alex.
Oh yeah,
Well,
I was
Nicole
miserable
told me
for
that
about
one,
15
so I'm
seconds
not taking
there.
credit for it.
All right, let's get on to Detroit.
All right.
Detroit.
We
Rick.
have to.
Oh, I
Yeah.
gotta go. Detroit. I have
Yeah.
Detroit last.
Okay.
Why? Cam Talbot I like Cam Talbot. He's a decent goalie, but I mean he's getting older. And Alex Lyon can be good, but I think he's a little inconsistent. And I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there in Detroit. Can they sign the guys they got to sign on defense? So if they don't, these guys aren't going to hold up. So I think just in general, that team's not as good as some people think. And it's not my favorite tandem, no.
Alex.
I'm going to piggyback on Rick. I also have them last. I am not a fan of Detroit's goaltending tandem at all. Cam Talbot's just meh. He's there. He's barely a starter at this point.
Yeah,
I feel
at
like
this
he's
point,
the
yeah.
bottom of the end starter. Alex Lyon is streaky. He can be
Yeah.
good in streaks, as kind of also piggybacking off of Rick. He's inconsistent, but he can also be crap in streaks too, as we've seen in the 2023 playoffs.
Yep.
He came out and he was okay at first against the Bruins, and then got yanked, and then it would get yanked for obvious reasons. But I look at not just the goaltending that Detroit has. I think it's a cosmos of what that entire team is doing. It's just a bunch of meh. Like, it's a team that I don't know what Yzerman is doing compared to what he did in Tampa. I don't call it the Yzer plan. I call it the Yzer scam. Make that a shirt, please.
It's a bunch of pieces thrown
Trademark.
together with seems like, right? Just thrown
the
together.
Yzer scam.
Yeah.
But yeah, their goaltending duo, it's last for me. It's a low-end starting goalie in Cam Talbot, who may fall off a cliff this year, and Alex Lyon, who is a streaky backup. That's it.
Vogel.
Moving on.
I also have them last, for the same reasons as Rick and Alex. Cam Talbot, he's been the last 5 years, he's been on 6 teams, so he's, bounced around. Obviously, we're not the only ones that think that he's, on the downslope. He's again just meh. That's the best way to describe that whole situation over there.
Yeah, I think at this point, yeah.
I actually have them 7. Marginally at 7. Like, I'm hard pressed to say why. I mean, you guys also forgot to mention Vialuso, so he's also there.
Yeah, but he's not going to play this year.
Billy Huso, right? Not Vile.
Yeah, Billy. Sorry,
Vile.
Sorry,
He's
his
not a
name
nice
is
guy.
Vile.
Yeah, you put your
He's
name
not a
worse
nice
than I do,
guy.
and that's
Buddy,
it.
that's fine. I don't know. When I look at it, I try to pronounce it as I read it, dude. It's pretty bad. So I
gotta say, you guys in Boston, you chop names up into pieces, man.
Yeah.
He's worse than I am. I'm bad,
King
but I
of
think
mispronouncing names.
Yes.
It's fine. Hey, at least it's entertainment. I'm pretty sure if he ever listened to this, he'd be like, "Screw that guy."
Like,
You know what I mean?
I've never heard
No.
him pronounce the name right ever.
Me? Yeah, no.
You
What
guys
was
know.
he Matthew? That's your name, right? Matthew?
He's the king. He's the king of getting work.
Listen, I gotta watch the Bruins later, okay? I gotta give me a break here. No, I think he's gonna play. They're running a three goalie thing. So and I think I don't know. I have faith that team is actually gonna be better because of what's in front of them. It's not much, but it's again, this is a marginal thing. Like they're very barely ahead of who I have at 8th, and you guys might even be surprised to see who I have at 8th.
I'm not, because I know who it's going to be.
Probably, but like I just look at what's in front of them, and I think it's going to help them improve a little bit better. I agree with you all guys on Cam Talbot. I think he's declining, he's going to be the backup. I don't think he's going to start. They were itching at the playoffs last year, so I don't know what's going to go on.
Whoever's
now.
playing best. Whoever's playing best at time, that's going to be your starter, I think.
That's where it's going to go. You know what I mean? And Alex Lyon is not a bad goaltender. You know what I mean? I think they have 2.5, goaltenders. You know what I mean?
But he is inconsistent.
He is inconsistent. I don't know. I think they're better than the eighth place team that I have. That's just it. There really isn't much to discuss between 7th and 8th place because I don't think their teams suck. So it's like I think that's going to impact everything going forward for them. So that's the way I see it. That's it. Let's move on to Buffalo. Let's start with Alex this time.
Before you go, Alex, Cam, who's Buffalo's starter? Say his name.
Oh, this is on me. Nordy would hit.
Don't even think about it. What is it? Don't just what is it?
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Yeah, Ukko-Pekka Pukka-Paka-Paka.
It's Luukkonen. It's Luukkonen with 2 U's. So, but that was pretty good.
I need 2 drinks.
Honestly,
that was pretty good for you.
I thought it was going to be.
It's way too much. As far as I'm concerned, it's Kakapupu-Pipi-Shire. Okay, that's all I got. That's pretty much.
Lord.
Just Luukkonen. I think Luukkonen's all you need to say.
Dude, when I saw that guy, guy's name, dude, no, I'm sorry. When I saw that guy's last name, all I thought was like, God, your parents hate you.
It looks like someone just smashed their head.
It's a last name though. It's that guy. There's the kid Luostarinen. I call him Listerine because I cannot pronounce it.
What about Listerine? Isn't that
there's a player?
He's telling Rick to drink Listerine.
Luostarinen, whatever. I cannot pronounce the kid's name. I just call him Listerine all the time.
That's fine. So now, welcome to my book, Rick. Like, just welcome to the club.
It's one name.
It's one. I do it with fine. I'm at every fucking name.
Yeah, right. That's the difference.
So, all right, go ahead. Sorry.
Let's start with Alex. Come on, Alex.
Anyway, Alex. Wow, this is a good work for a minute. Alex has Buffalo at 2. I think this team has a crazy ceiling with their goaltending. Now, will they hit that ceiling? That's a completely different argument. But the terrorist organization known as the Buffalo Sabres have 2 really legitimate. I'm calling them the terrorist organization. Until they make the playoffs, that is what they are known as to me. You found a way to almost ruin Sam Reinhart. He leaves the team, he wins a cup.
Yeah, so did Jack Eichel, so did Kyle Okposo. Like, you know what I mean?
You see my point?
No, I agree with you.
The terrorist organization. But anyway, UPL and Devon Levy
canceled.
Devon Levi. Devin Levi.
See, I'm even butchering.
Sorry, Devin Levi, my bad.
Butchering's contagious.
I'm contagious.
UPL and Devin Levi are both very high-end goalies. They both have high ceilings. They're both Devin Levi especially. He's been touted as a top 2 or 3 goalies prospect in the NHL. This kid, when he hits his prime, I think is going to be a legitimate top 10 goalie in the NHL for years to come, as long as Buffalo doesn't screw him up.
Right, that's true.
But with the 3-headed monster they have on defense, with Owen Power, Bo Byram, and Rasmus Dahlin, they shouldn't. But the point is that they have 2 very serviceable goalies. UPL is already a pretty serviceable goalie. I think he had over a .910 save percentage last year. Goaltending was not Buffalo's issue. But I think when we see this team, we see a team that could have the next Bruins-esque goaltending tandem when they both hit their prime that you have with Olmark and Swayman. So I like Buffalo a lot. I have them at 2.
Vogel.
I have them at 3. I think that Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is also. I think he's a good goalie. I think that the team that was put in front of him is the reason they placed so low last year. I really like Devin Levi. He's one of my more favorite backup goalies in the league. He was played at Northeastern. I watched him in the Beanpot when they won a couple years ago. He was playing out of his mind. So since he was drafted, I've kind of been excited to see what he can do in the league, and I think that them 2 together puts them up top of the division.
Rick,
I have them at 2, mostly because I didn't want to put Boston or Toronto at 2, so I have them at 2. But also, I was gonna. I had him at,
Bias.
no, but I had
The
him at
man
3.
literally doesn't do analytically. He works with
No.
his heart. He just goes, "Well, I hate
He works on
Boston. I
hatred.
hate Toronto.
No,
so
but
they're happy
okay,
to
but
7
listen.
and 8."
I don't
At
agree,
least
but
he
you got to
stands-
respect it.
At least he
I
stands
had
by
them
his
at
shit. dude.
3, and so I moved him up to 2. Luukkonen is going to be the starter. They announced it, right? Because Levi been struggling a little bit, but I agree with you. Levi is going to be a good goalie, mostly because he's Jewish. Enough said.
What the
So,
does that have to do with anything?
Notably good goalies.
No,
because you guys are Goyim.
If
You don't
anybody
know.
knows anything
I know.
about him,
I know.
It's Rick.
That's
A
going to be the
fellow Jew
reason.
knows. A fellow Jew knows. Okay, no, but seriously, but he's struggling a little bit. But I think this is going to be a year for him that he's going to show what we're expecting from Levi. And Luukkonen's a really good goalie. Like, I think he's a really good goalie. So I think if Levi has that year, that's a really good tandem.
I'm just still on the fact that you said it was because he believed in a certain faith. So I
don't even believe in that faith, even though I'm Jewish. But still,
Okay.
we
No,
stick
I
by
mean,
each other.
whatever.
We stick by each other.
I
That's
mean,
how it is.
Because that's how stats are based, right? Anyway, like look, I have them at 3. I think that's a very solid point for them. I still think UPL has stuff to prove. I think that entire team has stuff to prove. Yeah, you like that, Vogel? I wasn't saying his name.
you should just go with
recognized it.
initials from now on.
And I think Devin Levi, I think he also has stuff to prove. Alex was right that goaltending may not have been their problem last year because they were 11th in goals against. But I think that's more attributed to also some of the defense that they've had. They have a 3-headed monster, dude. That's the case. But I think they do make that jump this year. I just think they need to prove it. Like, you know what I mean? It's a big proving thing for me. Because if they don't prove it this year, especially with the way that team is kind of looking and shaping up to be, I might change my mind.
It's good. Is this 15 years? If they don't make the playoffs this year, is that 15 or 14?
I think it's
2010 was the last time they made the playoffs.
It would be 14. I think it would be considered
15.
14. Yeah, 15, 14. Yeah.
15.
They are tied with the New York Jets for the longest playoff drought in sports and in the 4 major sports.
It's got to hit some point, right?
You would think. I mean, they haven't been good since Ryan Miller left the team. If you think
Honestly,
about it.
watching them lose at this point is comedy. So I want to see them succeed, but at the same time, I laugh if they don't. So
I mean, that's the
Not
same.
true,
thing
but I
with the
feel for
Pittsburgh
their
Penguins,
fans.
so.
no, I do. Buffalo has a good fan base, but they're starting to lose patience. If you watch the games that they
used to fill that crowd, man.
Yeah, it's like maybe
that stadium's dying.
60% filled. No, you know what? The league, in real talk, the league would be better if Buffalo would make the playoffs again. That team, that fan base deserves.
Buffalo is a huge sports city. It's a big, like you look at the
The
Bills.
2 teams that they have, yes.
Yeah, they are a big sports city for something like that. Like, you know what I mean? The Bills, they don't fall. Like, look at the Bills Mafia.
They get a
And then
swap
Buffalo-
ownership, as Nordy said.
And the Sabres, like, you know, early in the 2010, they were filling that stadium pretty well. But like those fans want success. Like, you know what I mean? They do.
If they would get a hockey person to run that team, they'd be good.
That's what they need.
Yeah. Because the Pagulas or the
They got to
Pagulas?
get the Pagula family out of there. Terry Pagula is
Kim
Bagula.
It's Kim Pagula. It's Kim Pagula in particular. I think he's
Terry
running the
ran
team. I think he's the one running the team and making decisions, and he shouldn't.
Whatever it is, the Pagula families are terrorists.
Yeah.
But
in general, when you're an owner, you're usually not the sports guy. You should let sports people run your team.
You make the money. It doesn't matter. It's hiring someone to do it is not going to take that much out of your pocket.
What do you think the Bills are somewhat relevant now? Because the Pagula family doesn't have a hand in it, as already mentioned.
Yeah, and I think that defense is just stupid good. But I think if they can't put it together this year, then I don't know what to tell you. Then I might have to go back. I mean, they also have James Reimer too. So
okay, but their window's not closed or anything,
no,
obviously, right? So, but if
it adds questions.
That problem.
Still.
No, but if they would fix that problem soon, that's a team that could contend for a while.
Maybe, yeah, but they got to do it.
Of course. No, of course. Okay, next.
All right, let's go to Ottawa. Finished 7th in the division last year. Let's go with Alex.
I have Ottawa right now in 7th. So, I mean, here's the thing. They just acquired Linus Ullmark, who was good in Buffalo, was even better in Boston. Now he's got a new team to run with a not so good defense in Ottawa. I mean, Jake Sanderson's fantastic. I would have had Kittens if we somehow got him in that trade, but besides the point. But that defense has its holes. And, you know, a guy like Linus, he's cashed out. He's been paid. I don't know. I don't really have anything to back up this on. This is more of a gut feeling. I have a feeling Linus Ullmark has a bad year. I really do. And I think it just has something to do with the team around him, a new situation. I just have this weird feeling he's going to struggle this year. So, and then I don't even know who their backup is off the top of my head.
Anton Forsberg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Forsberg's an okay backup, I guess.
Put it up.
But he's not someone that I'm depending on to play me 28 to 30 games. Linus Ullmark is going to have to play good for 56 to 58 games if that team has any chance of sniffing the playoffs. So realistically, I have them 7th because I think the load he's going to get is not going to be the same he had in Boston. They ran a 1A, 1B tandem for the most part there, where now he's going to be looked at to get about 75% of the starts. And between the wear and tear on his body, his age, the new amount of games he's playing, the worst defense, between that and I don't see it. I think they have a rough goaltending duo this year.
Vogel.
It's funny that you say that this pick was more of a gut feeling than anything, because I have them at 6, and it was these two. It was between them and Montreal. You know, where I thought 6 and 7 should be, and maybe it is a bias, but I think that adding Ullmark kind of puts them just one ahead, and we'll get to it eventually. But I have Montreal at 7. But the Senators, I put them at 6, and it's not. It'll be interesting to see, just like Swayman, what Ullmark can do on a different team with a full workload, and on a team that's not as good as where he's been for the past couple of years. So that's really why I have them. And again, it was really a toss up between the last 2 picks we had here for me.
Rick.
Yeah. Why the fuck did Ullmark want to go to Ottawa? That's what I mean. He had to waive to do that. I got no idea. Anton Forsberg, horrible. I don't think he gets any better. I got them at Ottawa in 7th. And, I mean, Ullmark probably be better than Korpisalo.
I'd hope so.
But, like, how much better? I don't know what he's going to be able to do over there. So, just to be quick, I got him in 7th. It's still a tire fire over there. And, yeah.
I have him at 8th. And that might have been a shock to maybe a couple of you, because I love Linus. But it's like Rick said, Anton Forsberg is awful. So you got to expect Ullmark to play 60 games, which he has done in the past. He has experienced he's done full game loads. So, and he was decent at it. So but that's not my concerns. I think if, like I said, we're going to look at the future. Ottawa is a dumpster fire. That team can't get out of its own way. They added David Perron too, and they have some older guys in the form of him and Claude Giroux. So maybe they help reel them in a little bit. But outside of that, maybe, and like Travis Hamonic, he's older, but I don't think they really do or say much of anything. The only one I think or the only elder guy that I think is going to have, or the only 2 elder veterans that are going to have a voice in that locker room are going to be Giroux and David Perron. So I think that's all going to impact his play. The defense sucks. I mean, Jake Sanderson is good. Thomas Chabot is good. But he can't stay He can't stay healthy. So if a lot of your defensemen go down, again, that's going to impact how your goaltending plays. If Ullmark faces 60 shots a night, he lets in 5 goals. That's really not in his fault, right? Like that's pretty good. It's all about how he gets tired, and if he has to consistently do that for 60 games, I don't see it working out. That's the only reason why they're at 8th for me.
Side note, if they stink again this year, Giroux's getting traded, so it's going to get even more of a dumpster fire too.
Will they trade him?
It's his last year of his contract, so good chance. He's going to want to win a cup.
Oh, trading him at the deadline then.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
If they're
maybe.
bad by January,
Yeah, yeah.
February, he's going to get moved.
Oh, yeah.
They are bad.
And deservingly so. He deserves the shot to win.
Yeah.
They
So
are.
should we just ask where he's getting moved to at this point?
Yeah,
Because
no kidding.
it.
Edmonton's
For
my
a
pick.
future episode.
Yeah, for a future episode, by the way. Or should we just mention it now? Because they're not going to be
Wow,
good. And
hard
if they
to tell.
are good, I'd be
It's-
shocked.
I'm
It's
starting
hard
the
to tell,
Peru to
man.
Edmonton run.
It's hard to tell. He'll want to go to contender, obviously.
Yeah. No.
All right, let's
for
get to
sure.
the best team. Let's get to the best.
Oh, the best team, Rick's favorite team. He
Oh,
probably
then
has
why are
them
we-
listed first.
then
No,
why
yeah,
are they
probably
last?
is. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, they finished last.
Because they
last
needed to get
month.
Again.
Ivan Demidov.
They
Because
did-
it was,
third
they
time
did.
in a row.
I'm
They
sorry,
did it on
Yeah,
purpose.
They tanked
they
on
did it on purpose to get Ivan
That's it.
Demidov.
That's the one.
Clear.
They tanked on purpose in a draft lottery. That's it. Because that's how
It's
the
exactly.
NHL works.
It's exactly. Doesn't that make sense?
And they
It
just
does.
happen to know
Makes sense to
Demidov
me.
was going to drop the
They-
5.
and they just
Yeah.
happen to know that, dude. It's the whole thing. It's all playing.
Hey,
Tank
it's
Hughes,
called the crystal
genius.
ball.
It
It's
had
called
nothing
the
to
crystal
do with
ball,
Kubiak.
right?
Yeah, he has a Palantir for all of you Lord of the Rings people out there or whatever.
Listen,
Like,
get a
you-
crystal ball. They're available at the store.
Yeah,
That's all you got to
it
do.
doesn't matter. It doesn't mean it work. Do I look like it to you? You know what? Instead of
Find a
clairvoyant,
spirit ball.
fuck that, dude. Instead of clairvoyant, I'm camvoyant. That's it. That's the one.
Camvoyant.
I'm camvoyant. I
It's,
predict the
it's your
future.
sister that's clairvoyant, right?
Yeah,
We're just
exactly.
a month away from the ball at Spirit Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, we missed most of that with the.
Thank God, too. 'cause all
Eileen-
Alex does
Eileen.
is talk.
I
Yes, go ahead. Lead us with
I got
Montreal, Rick.
Montreal at 4th. Now, I
Generous.
can hear everybody out there laughing as you're listening to this,
Generous.
and I get that. But Sam Montembeault finished last season, I want to say 14th in goals saved against above average. At some point in the season, he was in top 10. He's a good goalie. Caden Primo was even better than overall than Monty last year. I think Primo is better this year, and I think so is Monty, as the team in front of him is a little better as well. So I think you got two underdogs there that I think they're going to show it this year. I do understand the skepticism from everybody else, and if I was a fan of another team, I wouldn't have them this high. I agree with that. But that's where I got them. I've got all the confidence in them. I think that Montreal is going to be a much better team, putting up more points and giving up less goals. And that I think they're going to be in 4th.
I have them at 6th. They're definitely they're definitely better than Montreal. They're definitely better than Montreal. They're definitely better than themselves. They're definitely better than Detroit and Ottawa. I'll give you that. Like Caden Primo, I think, and Montembeault are better than both Ville Husso and whatever backup he's going to have, and Linus Ullmark and Forsberg. But it's because I think Ottawa has Forsberg that's dragging down Linus just that far. Similar to Tampa with Johansson. Not much to really say about it. I mean, Montreal, they have another goaltender up and coming in
Cam Fowler, but he's
Fowler.
2 years. He's probably 2 years.
Yeah,
older.
but he's up and coming, so like maybe
And gonna
in the
be good.
future, yeah, maybe.
Gonna be
Yeah,
good.
but we can't include prospects right
No,
now.
I'm not going to.
We're not.
but
We're not.
I'm just mentioning that they do have one, so maybe in a couple of years they might have a decent tandem. I just think their tandem is still not strong.
That's fine.
Team still, yeah.
No, I said I think everybody will be kind of like, yeah, he's biased, and maybe I am, but
Maybe.
I see them.
Maybe you
No,
have them
listen,
at 4.
I see these guys
You
every
put them
game.
better than
So-
Boston.
I'm going to make a point. I see these guys all the time. You see your guys, he sees his guys. So we have a better understanding and see them in a different way. I see their potential that I don't think a lot of people do see, and I get it. I'm cool with it.
So Rick
gonna go
just
crazy.
said,
I'm not going to go
I'm
crazy,
biased.
okay?
Rick just said I'm biased.
You already
in the
are
most
crazy.
in the most professional way possible. Rick just said, listen, I'm a Canadians fan.
I'm
I watch
biased.
the team I know more than you, so therefore I'm not biased, but I am. So there
I
you
am
go.
biased. No, it's a bit biased. I said that though.
It's not a bit.
I don't
It's
walk
a bit.
away from. I don't hide from that.
It's not a bit. 5th place is a bit biased.
I do
4th place
100%.
is you're glazing the team.
100% believe the end of the season. If we revisit this, I'll be proven right.
We'll see.
Sure. Let's
we can be
mark
lucky.
it. We'll revisit it. Alex,
We
go ahead.
should.
I also have Montreal at 6. They have 2 okay goaltenders. I think Caden Primo is nice. I actually like Caden Primo a lot, mainly because he's the son of Keith Primo. So I have a little bit of a mini rooting interest for the kid. No, but I have him at 6, so I'm not being biased. I have him at 6 as well. But
That's biased.
Just wait till you get to the Philadelphia Flyers next week in the Metro Division. They're going to be like, oh, he's their number one.
No, not honestly. You're going to be surprised when I have them, but we'll talk about that then. But because that's going to be their Achilles heel. But anyway, I look at Montreal. They have 2 good, not great goalies. Caden Primo is a respectable goalie. I think both him and Montembeault were roughly middle of the pack in most goaltending stats this year. It's a okay, serviceable duo. It's 2 guys who I believe that you look at reality are 2 low-end starters right now, but they're not their future goaltenders. They're their fill-in goaltenders. They'll probably move one of them whenever Fowler's ready. So I think 6 is fair for them. I like them a lot better than whatever the hell Detroit's doing, if it makes you feel better.
Vogel's going to shit all over them now. Watch.
I was going to be nice, but since you said that, no, I like I said, I think that I have them at 7. Like I said before, I think that my Senators Canadians, picks were kind of interchangeable. I like Alex said, there's a serviceable duo. I mean, they'll do. I don't think they're spectacular. I like I said, I think that just putting Allmark put the Senators just a little bit above them. But yeah, I have them at 7.
Can I just go over? I do a show, Saturday Hockey Talk, on Saturday. So with my chat, we came to a consensus, or they did. So I'll just go over the places real quick. In first, they had Florida, of course. Second, they had Tampa Bay. Third was Boston. So my Habs chat had Boston at 3rd. You should be happy with that. 4th was Toronto. 4th was Toronto, not just me. 5th was Montreal. So they weren't biased. And 6th was Detroit, which surprised me. And 7th was Buffalo, so they did not like Buffalo.
What?
Yeah, I know. Wow. I told them that I think that's way off. And then Ottawa was 8th for them.
I had no issue with that list outside of Buffalo.
Anyway, that was we kind of went through and everybody voted, and that was the winners. So those places were the winners. Okay, let's move on.
And going on to our second topic of the night. By the way, guys, let us know what you guys think about the goalie tandems in the comment section. We love to hear it. Love to hear your thoughts. Who was closest to being right? Who is the most wrong? Rick. And we'll just we'll just go that Montreal at 4. Come on. Even Matt had them at 5. No, I think he had them at 4. Oh, you guys.
Matt and Rick had the exact same list.
You think they got together before that, smoked a couple things, and then just decided to come on here and fuck with us? I wonder what their real list looks like. He's getting a look at his face.
Matt, for those listening or watching, Matt had some Wi-Fi issues, so he couldn't join the show. But him and Rick had the same list.
I don't get to put up the Pugliarvi thing then and make a joke about it. Okay.
Oh, that stinks. No, we'll definitely do that. We'll do that.
We'll mention it.
We're going to mention that, yeah, for sure.
Okay, we'll mention it for him. Okay.
All right, that's going to lead us to our second topic of tonight and last topic. And it's who was the worst NHL draft pick taken within the top 5 in the last decade? So from 2014 up to 2024. We kind of preface this and say, it's not fair to give anyone who was drafted in 2023 and 2024 anything like this. So it's basically pre-2023 to 2014.
Honestly, before 2019 is not fair, but I'll give in.
Sure, but I don't think we have anyone.
I don't think anyone's
there
picking
one
one
in there.
2022 though.
But
no, we don't have anybody.
Let's dive right into it. So why don't we start with Alex?
I was hoping we'd save me for last, so he'll probably be the one that brings the most controversy. But I'm gonna.
Okay, let's save him for last.
Let's do Nordy's first.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Honestly.
All right. So Nordy had Jesse Pugliarvi. He was drafted in 2016 by the
Ew.
Edmonton Oilers at 4th overall. And if you haven't seen his picture, he looks like the actor who played It in the most recent films. He looks like he wants to just kill you. Or
He looks like the son
has
of It.
been eating
He
you.
looks like the son of
looks
It.
crazy.
Come on. He's the son of It. That face.
He
Come on.
looks crazy. Probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. So we feel bad probably by even mentioning this. But he's definitely got that clown It smile. So it doesn't matter. He makes more money than I ever will see in my entire life. So I should be more kind to him.
He's a number 4. He's the only number. No, he's a number 4 pick.
He was the number 4 pick in 2016, drafted by Edmonton. Matt's reasonings were that he bounced around between Europe, the NHL, and the AHL, signed to PTO in 23-24. He had a double hip surgery. He was with the Pens in that 23-24 season. He fell off.
Wilkes-Barre Scranton.
Oh, sorry. He had, like I said, he had a double hip surgery, fell off a cliff in record time, and he just hasn't been able to replicate his early seasons where he kind of showed signs that he would be a very valuable pick. Those were Nordy's reasons. Now, I'm sorry, not Matt, but Alex wants to go last. So why don't we go Rick?
All right, going Rick. Okay, so I picked from 2016. Let me see what I wrote there. Vancouver, 5th pick. Oli Uo-Levy. Let me find him here. Oli Uo-Levy. So he played like 41 games over 3 seasons. It shows 4, but that first season he only played 1 playoff game. So in 3 seasons, 3 different teams, put up 2 goals, 1 assist for 3 points. Now I remember Uo-Levy. There were rumors at some point that Montreal was going to trade for him. As a reclamation project or some garbage. So I'm glad they didn't. He just it's a high pick who did like absolutely nothing. I don't know any more about him than that, to be honest with you. Obviously wasn't a very good defenseman. Or was that, he's sometimes guys are great in the lower leagues and they get to the big league and it's too much for them, and that's what he was.
What position was he?
Defense.
He was a defenseman, wasn't he?
Yeah, defense.
Wow, number 5 too for Vancouver.
Number 5 to just put up 3 points in 41 games, 3 different teams, and your first 3 years, 1, 2,
defense.
3.
It depends. I'd see that in his first.
He was
season.
highly touted.
How many? He was probably. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I think the 2016 draft had some pretty good names in there. That's definitely a disappointment for me. I think top 5, you anticipate them to be consistent NHLers. Yes. Vogel, why don't you go?
All right. I want to start this off by saying
something.
We probably should have broadened it more than the last 10 years.
I wanted to. He didn't.
All right. Well, then it's
saying. I just because I like to pat myself on the back.
So the
my fault. The guy who can't pronounce names.
The guy that I picked, it was in the 2021 draft at number 5. Columbus drafted Kent Johnson.
Oh, I remember him.
And like the graphic shows on the screen, he's played 3 years in the NHL so far. He's really only played 1 complete season. Last year he got hurt. He had shoulder surgery in January, so that cut his season short. But I just, compared to the other, the other top 5 picks in really the last 10 years, most of them have been absolute studs. I mean, you can obviously pick out players that have been kind of busts or haven't been great, but like I said, he was drafted in 2021. It's only been 3 years. His season last year was cut short due to injury, so I could be way off on this in the future. I could be way off.
I think you might be off.
Columbus' second line.
I think so because I only hear
think
good
I can
things
name a
about
handful.
Yeah, you might be off on him. Yeah.
Well,
I
went back and looked the last 10 years. Go back and look. Whoever's listening, go back and look. There's not a lot of bad names on there.
No,
it's true though. He's
That's
not
fair.
wrong.
I don't blame him.
So that pick is strictly because I do think we should have expanded the criteria a little bit.
Listen, don't blame me for your lack of ability to do research there, big guy.
I did plenty of research.
Yeah,
Right. There's only so
I don't
many
doubt
picks.
it.
5 picks a year. It's not a lot of picks to go through.
I bet you anything. He spent an entire day just combing through trying to find a guy just to spite me because I didn't want to expand it past 10 years. I bet you anything. He's just like, I'm going to find a guy.
I mean, like I said, I am not willing to die on that hill that he's one of the worst picks in the last 10 years. I mean, I'm not. That is strictly because we were limited to the guys we could pick, and people from Columbus are not going to like that. But
yeah, like I think
Cam's fault, really, if you think about it. I mean,
everything's Cam's fault.
There are plenty of players you could have chose from. Plenty of players. What about Capo?
Go through the last 10 years.
Capo Caco at taking.
What about KK?
His draft pick? Yeah, Kotkaniemi. He was
Camp Lovechild, Kotkaniemi.
Yeah,
I was going to give one for the Habs. That's who it was for me for the Habs.
Yeah, there are plenty of people that you could have picked, and you could have just done it solely based on draft position too.
I almost just went rogue and just picked somebody else, but I'm a man of the people. I follow the rules.
That's it. He's really a people person.
So you know what? Note it. Put it down right now. I am an anti-Kent Johnson fan in Columbus. I'm sorry about that.
Vogel's
that's what it is. It is what it is.
In fantasy hockey, he's not even going to
doubling
touch him.
down. Vogel's doubling down, man.
That's it. I do not like Kent Johnson.
That's it. He wants him to fail.
That's it. I can't wait till the Bruins play Columbus because I'm gonna let him have it
for no reason.
So are you saying for hibernation we're going to go to Ohio? Nothing good comes out of Ohio, buddy. Sorry for Ohio fans. You know how they say it. Now the kids say it, right?
Explain to me, too.
Hey, listen,
Ohio's dumb. Why does Ohio have so many sports teams? It's so small. It's too many. There's too many sports teams.
The only good thing to come out of Ohio is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Football Hall of Fame. That's about it.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, Kent Johnson.
Anyway, Kent Johnson sucks. He's got no future.
We officially are out on Kent Johnson.
So for Christmas, I'm going to get you a Kent Johnson jersey.
Never mention his name again.
Yeah,
never.
No.
He's going to be picketing out a frigging Nationwide Arena. Down with Kent.
Yeah, he's
down with Kent.
Just make sure you spell that right.
That's one name. That's one name Cam can say right.
Yeah, leave me alone. It's an easy one. All right, just give me a break here. All right, I'll go so Alex can go last so I can appease the princess. I have actually all the way back from 2014, Michael Dal Cole. Did I say that right?
Michael Dal Cole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, fuck you, Vogel. I can do it sometimes.
He said it right.
He's not even
I just feel like you don't have to swear at me. That's not very nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it to the people person.
Whatever. You set me up to fail in this this segment here, and you're gonna.
That's
it.
Like that. That's what it is. Welcome to the sin bin. He was drafted in 2014. Drafted by the New York Islanders at 5th overall. He's played 10 years collectively between the minors and in the NHL. He has 112 games played, only 21 points for a left winger. Not a solid showing for a top 5 pick at all. Hasn't played consistently in the NHL, and basically is a 13th forward. If we have that 7th D-man thing, he's a 13th forward. If you look at it, the guy just sucks. There's not really much else to be said about it. When you look at a lot of the players drafted in the last 10 years on the top 5, it's absolutely right. A majority of them are absolute studs in what they've transformed into, aside of maybe the players that we've been mentioning tonight. It's really hard to pick a guy, but that guy really stood out to me, and he just oh my God, just puke all over the place. Alex.
Well, I clearly have Connor McDavid from the Twitter. No, I'm just kidding.
That makes sense. That guy sucks too, right?
No, he does. No.
He's just terrible.
He's horrible. Scores 100-something points a season. He's awful.
No, my pick.
$12 million contract.
I'm picking one for my own team. 2017 second overall pick, Nolan Patrick. And there's a lot. Way to go. There he went. There's a lot to follow on this. His career started respectable. He came out of the woodworks. He kind of ran as the 3C. for 2 years. He was in the 30-point range, but he never really lived up to that hype. He was considered to be the next Anze Kopitar style of game. And then 2019 hit. He really had a fall off. Then the migraine started from a bad hit he took in a game. 2020, he missed the entire season due to migraine issues. Got traded in the Ryan Ellis trade over to Vegas in a multi-team trade. Never really did too much there. And then the migraines ended up sending him into retirement. My argument for this is this. Going into the 2017 NHL draft, it was a 2-horse race between him and Nico Hischier for that number 1 overall pick spot. Eventually, Nico Hischier ended up winning the spot. New Jersey got their future 2C and one of the best two-way centers in the league today.
And their captain.
But then it's not only the fact that Nolan Patrick was a bust, it's what came after him that really adds on to this. Listen to these next 3 draft picks and your jaw's going to hit the floor. The 3rd pick that year was Elias Pettersson, superstar from the Vancouver Canucks. The 4th pick that year, Cale Makar, the best defenseman in hockey right now from the Colorado Avalanche. The 5th pick that year, Heiskanen, out in Dallas, their number 1 defenseman. 3 franchise-changing players.
That's my jaw hitting the floor.
Back to back to back. And Nolan Patrick, out of those 5 guys, was the only dud. Now, he wasn't playing all that great beforehand. His two-way game is what he was supposed to be elevated for, and it wasn't even all that good. He had 2 30-point seasons, then fell off a cliff. And then the injuries obviously happened. I personally put that in perspective of you being a bust because now, mind you, not all of it is his fault. It's a neurological issue. Some hockey play had something to do with it too because he took a bad hit towards the end of the 2019 year that kind of got it going again. Or there's a word for it that reignited it. I think that's what I'm looking for. And he just didn't live up. It's what came after him. It was just one giant mess, that pick. And it set the Flyers franchise back at least 3 years.
I want to bring up that I don't think it's fair to assess Nolan Patrick as a bust because of his injuries. And he was a consistent player his first 2 years. He scored, 30 points both those seasons.
Yeah.
I think he was on the 3rd line.
A little bit second and third. They rotate.
But but 30 points for a 3rd line player who predominantly played on that line is pretty good. So his game was being developed. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said his injuries kind of set that tone for him and he just wasn't able to recover. Like there's only so much you can do. And I want to say that there is a point where there's a difference between having symptoms and then being diagnosed. It could still impact him up to the point of diagnosis. So when he was diagnosed could be irrelevant. Some of that could have been happening all along, but as he continued to play hockey, it got progressively worse. So that's why I think there is a point to be made there. Yeah,
because you can't. He played 2 years. You can't really judge a kid after 2 years if he's a
so
bust
here's
or
my
not.
counter argument.
So I don't know that's fair to put him in there.
So here's my counter argument to this. The injuries started coming back from the big hit he took in 2019. That 2019 season, he played 52 games. You're in your 3rd year. This is when you're expected to really take a major step forward. In 52 games, he had 9 points. In an 82-game season, that is a 14-point pace.
But what if he was affected already by that? And he's trying to play through
it really
and
didn't affect him until the hit happened, though. That's the thing.
Oh, when did the hit happen?
We have breaking news?
We have breaking news.
Oh.
Lucas Raymond has signed an 8-year deal with the Detroit Red Wings.
Ooh. Red Wings?
I thought that was going to be
we have Red Wings now?
I thought that was Swayman coming.
What is the term on that?
Oh, man.
It's 8 years. I don't know the dollar value yet.
Okay. That's worth interrupting.
That's not small. Can we want to take a guess?
Raymond's worth that though. He's a young player. He's a
No, I know. What are we thinking? 8 years. That's an 8-year deal, right?
Maybe in the 7+ range.
8 years, $8 million.
Yeah, that's
years,
what I
$8
think.
million?
I was saying about 7.5.
That may, yeah. Me
I'm
too. I would
fine
have
with
thought
that.
about 7.5.
It's a fair deal for
Interesting.
him.
No, there
But,
you go. That's
yeah.
one of their RFAs signed
When was the last time we had a news break like that?
while we're on air.
Yeah, while we're on air.
Not too long ago. Didn't something happen not too long ago? We had one of those. I thought. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
We
no, I
had
love it.
three things over the week, but not.
This was
but
posted
anyway.
by the NHL about 2 hours ago, so I just reached my phone.
Okay, fair enough. But anyway, back to my point. That was the thing with Nolan Patrick. He was not showing the signs of improvement. He was showing the signs of decline even before the migraines set in.
Okay, but third year still. But third year, although that's a huge decline.
Yeah,
over
that
9
is
points.
for a
It's only
third-year guy. You're
right.
now getting those top 6 minutes, and you're not
No, he
showing
wasn't.
progression.
No, he
In
wasn't.
2018-19, they had their core pieces.
He was
had
a
Giroux.
third line player. He was still a third line player.
Not
through
at
his
that
third year.
stage.
Yes,
They
he
were
was.
moving him to the second line. They already traded Braden Shen.
I don't think so. I think because
And
he was
Giroux
a
was
natural
moved over to
center.
the wing. So he was your QC at that point.
I would say this. He may have been a bust, but I think because of the injuries, and it's hard to tell. I don't know if it's fair. I'm still going to say I don't know if it's fair.
I will say
there,
this. Will we ever know if he would have became the player that he
We
could
don't.
have? I don't
How
know.
could we?
Probably not. But when
So
you
is then
look at
that
the
a fair
trajectory,
assessment?
if you're on a 14-point pace as a number 2 overall pick with the immense talent around in that top 5, I consider that a bust. Just me.
Is
Yeah,
it a
but when
fair?
you're
Is it a
21
fair assessment if you can't say it though? Yeah,
Or
he's
at
only
the age of
21.
21,
21.
you should not be having a 14-point season as a number 2 overall pick, especially if it being comped to Anze Kopitar.
But at 21,
Oh.
you might, though. I could
The
see
third
it.
year of your, maybe if it was your first year, I could see it at 21.
Everyone has a bad
year.
season.
That's,
And I mean,
That's
you
a fair
didn't speak
point.
to him. He may have had other things wrong with him that some players just don't say anything.
I think it's hard to
We're
say
just
because his
going off
career
what we know,
ended.
though.
His career ended very abruptly, so I think it's just
sucks,
difficult
too.
to say.
Because
It's
I was
a bust.
elated when we picked him too.
He's a bust pick for the team. Yes, I'll agree with that. But I don't know if it's fair to assess him actually as a bust. But for the team, that pick was a bust, 100%.
It was franchise altering in a bad way. It
Yeah.
set them
No, I'll
back
give you
2
that.
or 3
That
years.
pick turned out to be a bust.
He
for
was
the
supposed
team.
to be their future 1C.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in terms of his raw talent, like him as a player himself, I don't think he was a bust player. I think just the circumstance led to that appearance. Yeah.
I disagree just because he was on that pace. We don't know for sure if the neurological issues were happening in 2019. I'm going off of is it started when he got that bad hit he took towards the end of the 2019 season. He played 52 games, had 9 points. That's
the
a
bad
14-point
hit
pace.
could have accelerated something that was
That's why I
going
think
on.
it reignited it.
But and maybe that 52 game season, he was having problems, but only when the hit happened did it really make it come to the forefront. He might not have been saying anything. A lot of players don't say anything so they don't lose their spot.
I mean, it could have affected him. It could have.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm not completely ruling that out.
It's just an unknown, but it's a bust pick for the Flyers. Because it was a wasted pick in the end, right? So that's a bust. I'll give you
And
that.
that's because of him being. You guys are naming guys maybe around the 5-6 range, which is still a big investment. Well, Patrick was the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah,
and he was neck and neck with Nico Hischier that year.
No.
He was 1 for the first half of the year, and then Hischier passed around like January, February.
Okay, it's difficult. It's difficult though to compare cross years because some draft classes are inherently better than others. So it gets
That
difficult
2017
to do that.
one was loaded though.
So it's kind of difficult for you to kind of assess from those time points.
That's just part of my argument, though. Just because what they left on the table of those next 3 picks, obviously,
makes it a bust for the team,
yeah,
right? Because he
obviously,
could have got
you're not
someone
gonna
else
pick
that
them
would
at
have
the
been.
time.
Even in Nolan Patrick's short career, he still scored more points than he scored more points than
KK.
Yeah, sure.
I
can't. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce Rick's pick. I'm just going to call him OJ because I know what my limitation.
Uo Levy.
You can't pronounce the name.
Uo Levy. You had no problem saying Levy for Devin Levi, but now you can't say Uo Levy.
Listen. It's a struggle, okay?
I see that ongoing struggle.
He still performed better than Yuo Levy. He hasn't performed better than Kent Johnson because Kent Johnson still has something to prove. Sorry, Vogel.
Sucks.
The guy sucks. He blows. He's definitely better than Michael Del Cole. And, Puyarvi, maybe.
I just put the pick into perspective of where he was picked.
I'm going off of overall performance, and I'm going off of overall performance too. I mean, I think for him, he's still performed better than the other people that were mentioned.
I guess, but when you're the number 2 overall pick and regress, it's regression by natural, like just by naturally regressing due to age and regressing because of injury and potential health concerns are two different things. If that's what it was, though, we don't even know if he had that at that point. He may have. He may have. But he took a nasty. I wish I brought the video of the nasty hit he took I think it was probably around February of 2019 that led to this. And this is what got it going.
I think I remember it.
He took a bad hit. Let me see if I keep going. I'm actually curious if I can find it just for my own sake.
Well, I don't think we really have anything else to add.
Yeah,
so I think we're going to end it. So yeah, guys, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of Pucking Around Podcast. We hope you guys enjoy the show. Let us
remember
know.
Next week we are going to do Metro Division.
Spoilers, Rick. Spoilers. Come on now. What are we doing?
Spoiler
alert. So next week we're going to do the Metro Division. We're going to continue on. We're going to do one division. We're going to do one division a week for the goalie tandems.
We'll be faster next week.
Leading up to the NHL, start of the season. As always, leave us a comment, like and subscribe, and we will see you all next time.
Ciao.
Yes, sir. Thanks, everybody, for watching. As always, stay safe out there. Peace out, everybody. And I don't actually have music to let you out with, but have a good week. We'll see you next week.
Suck it, Kent Johnson.